can go with Miss Sally. Y'all haven't figured this out. Matthew only cries when we quit sinning. He wants it to go on, and that's not a mean cry. It's let's keep going. Cry. Okay, are you note takers? Entitled this message, "Connecting People to Jesus." We're going to read John chapter 1, 3 verses, verses 40 through 42. And it says, "One of the two men who followed Jesus after they heard John speak about him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and say to him, 'We have found the Messiah.'" Messiah means Christ. Then Andrew took Simon to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas." And Cephas means Peter. Andrew here is introducing his brother Simon to Jesus. Therefore, it would be proper to refer to Andrew as a connector. You know what a connector does? It connects. If you've got electricity and you've got a socket over here and a plug over here, when you get the two together and you connect them, something happens. This is just one of many examples of connection working in the Bible. In the business world, we call it networking. In the church, we call it soul winning. What compelled Andrew to reach out to his brother Simon? He says in verse 41, "We have found the Messiah." Now, you don't find something unless you have been looking for it. If you know what it is when you get it. I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, when you get it, you won't know you got it. So, Andrew is a connector. He's reaching out to his brother Simon. He was excited about who he had found. Andrew was excited. Andrew wanted to share who he had found. Andrew wanted those closest to him to have what he had. You know, not everybody is like that. The saddest people in the world are those who are stingy. They don't share what they have. They don't share who they are. They don't share their talents. They don't share their love. But Andrew was not a stingy person. As soon as he found who he believed to be the long-awaited Messiah, he went running home to tell his brother, Andrew. Was the one doing this. In his book called The Turning Point, written by Malcolm Gladwell, he describes the work of a connector. The connectors, he explains, are important to social epidemics, especially in the church. The reason why a new restaurant would become a new hot spot in the community might well depend upon a great deal of the work of the connector. You see, a connector is a person in the marketplace who tells all of their friends about what a great deal they got at whatever store they were shopping in. Walmart, for instance. Or the fantastic food that they ate at a new restaurant. Every church has connectors in them. She's not here, so I can talk about her. I identify my wife as a connector. She would find a bargain, say at Walmart, and she will immediately get on her cell phone and call her daughter or some of her friends and tell them about this great sale that Walmart has. And if they've only got 2 or 3 left, she'll let them know that. She just gets excited that others can be a part of the deal. She's a connector. She loves telling people about everything from the newest restaurant to the store that has a sale on paper napkins. We have all had the work of a connector in our lives at some point. They introduced us to the church. Or they may have introduced you to your spouse. Connectors tell us the kind of car we should buy. They work behind the scenes to promote projects and products and agendas, and they do it every day without pay or recognition. You might say it's their personality. I would say it's more of an obsession with some people. My wife can't help herself. She has to share her good fortune. I've told her in the past to keep some of the bargains to herself. Like the really neat pair of shoes she's wearing today that she just got off the clearance rack at Goodwill this week for a couple of dollars. I tell her, let people think you paid a little something for it. But no, she has to tell the whole world where they can get the same deal that she got. She loves to be the connector, and quite frankly, she just can't help herself. It's her personality. Every church has connectors and men. We often fail to appreciate the work they do. Neither do we appreciate the fact that they do their work with a great diligence and without anyone noticing them. The connector in the church may not be on the leadership team. They may be the little grandmothers who don't say much, but when she does, people listen. Connecting people to Jesus should come as natural to us as telling someone about the latest restaurant in town. It should be as easy as telling them about the great deal we got at Walmart or some bargain we got at the grocery store. We brag on our favorite teams. And we tell people about the coolest video or post on Facebook. But do we ever consider connecting people to Jesus? I'm going to share with you a 5-step plan to follow when it comes to being a connector for our church. First, how is your relationship with God? When everything is truly right between you and God, we will want to invite people to come to our church. We'll want people to come and be blessed as we were blessed by the Lord from His Word. Secondly, keep a positive attitude and testimony before others. We all have our own little world that we come in contact with every day, whether it be school or job or just being in the neighborhood or in everyday places that we go. And we should make sure that we keep a positive testimony. This will greatly affect our attempts at connecting people to Jesus. Thirdly, pray that God gives us a deep burden for the lost. We must truly love people to reach out to them. Pray that God gives us a hunger and a desire for the lost. Pray that soul winning is something that will always stay on our minds throughout the day of the week. Every person we come in contact with has a soul. Actually, it's not true to say they have a soul. Scripture says they are a soul. When God created man, He breathed into the creation and it became a living soul. And you know what? That living soul will spend eternity in heaven or hell. Their final destination could be in your hands this week. That truth should motivate us to reach out to everyone we meet. Especially if we start the day by asking the Lord to bring someone across our path or lead us to someone that needs to hear just a kind word. See, most people think that when the preacher talks about witnessing means you need to take a 97-pound Schofield Bible and beat somebody on the head with it. No. It's just sharing the positive attitude of Jesus with others. Fourth, we need to pray every day that God would lead us to hungry souls, that we would have the opportunity to invite them to come to our church. You don't have to do the preaching or the teaching. Just get them here and love on them. Before we leave our houses in the morning, pray that God would open doors for us to meet people who are hungry and desirous for more in their lives than what they have now. And God will lead you if you're willing to be led. Also, pray to be sensitive to His leading. God knows who is hungry and will order our steps to meet these people. And when that opportunity arises, make sure you listen to the person and pick up on life clues that you can use to ask them to come to church. Life issues, traumas, sicknesses, or others can be key issues in getting that person to visit a church. You can say something like this: my church is a place that will help you right now in your time of need. Will you be my guest this Sunday? And fifth, have faith that God will bless your efforts. We can be assured that God will bless our efforts every time. We can only plant and water, but it's God that gives the increase. If we do our part, He will definitely do His. You can make more friends in 2 months. Catch this. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. You know who said that? A fellow by the name of Dale Carnegie. Wrote a book on how to win friends and influence people. I'm thinking about writing a book one day. How to win back the people I've influenced. He didn't know that the day he went home from church and told his brother that they had found the Messiah, that same brother would soon stand to his feet on the day of Pentecost and preach the salvation message. We know him as the Apostle Peter, who also brought that same message of hope to the Gentiles, who, unless you're 100% Jewish today, is you. Andrew didn't know who or what Simon would become. Well, what if Andrew never would have told his brother about Jesus? The book of Acts wouldn't read the way it does, and neither would much of the New Testament. When you connect your friends, your family, your neighbors, or colleagues to Jesus, leave the results to Him. He's the one who saves and transforms. Don't be worried about the result. Let Jesus take care of that. You just be the connector that will plug them into a power source. The chief power source in the whole world. Jesus. Just be a connector. And just because someone has had a bad experience with some other church, don't be afraid to invite him or her to our church. And I'm glad God put a connector in your life. I'm glad they weren't ashamed to say, come visit my church. Come see what I have found. Come check out this amazing bargain I'm enjoying in my life. See, I believe this church needs to be getting ready to shift gears. This church is ready to step up to the next level of where God wants it to be in this community. You see, the more we see and read and hear the news around the world, the more we can see that what God said 2,500 years ago is happening right now. I just heard the day before yesterday that the 5 nations that are supposed to come together and attack Israel in the last days have now all been talking with one another and consorting and have set their aim at wiping out Israel. I mean, they've got guys on TV every day shouting, we want to obliterate Israel. It's going to be pretty hard to be a part of our church and not get involved in the ministry here in these last days. Tough times are going to come. We're going to see it. And we best hope in the pre-trib rapture that when the real bad stuff comes along, we won't be here. But you know what? You and I touch people every day. Some family members, some just friends. That most likely won't be called during the rapture. And will they stand before the Lord and say, Dick Moore didn't tell me about that. Or my friend didn't tell me what was going to happen. God's already told us. And we need to pay attention. What I'm saying is, I'm praying that we're going to be taking it a notch or two higher here very soon. I believe change is in the air. I believe that growth is in the air. What got us here is not going to get us to a new place that God is taking us. And the Andrews of the church are going to make it happen. There's some people here who are not satisfied with going home day after day and seeing their family or their neighbors or their friends and not telling them about Jesus and the amazing opportunity of studying His Word and how it's changed their lives and helped their families. You see, the connectors are not going to let us stay here. If you like it is, hang on to your seat. Because I'm praying that an Andrew spirit is about to take over this church. I remember a story of an old missionary to communist Russia one time. He told about a small church that he went to where the people would quietly sing songs but could not clap their hands or respond outwardly in worship because it would cause their location to be found out. And if they were found out, they would all be shot on the spot. So these precious believers would sit on their hands so they would not be tempted to accidentally clap their hands in worship. Thank God we're still living in a country right now where you can tell people at the grocery store about Jesus and not be arrested. Thank God we can still talk about Him in our workplace and in our neighborhoods. Thank God that we can connect people to the one who can and will change their life and save their soul. Here we are, out on the corridor, the main road that goes into Plant City. We're right here on one of the major highways. I don't know if they've ever done a count, but I would say, and I hope this is not just a pastoral research, I would say there are thousands of people that pass our church every day. But how many of them know that this is the church where you go? How difficult is it to be a connector? Not difficult. Just let the Lord lead you. And be yourself. You don't have to put on a preacher hat and try to witness. Many folks you and I know will pass by this church this year, if not this week. But how many of them will know that this is where you worship? We can talk about evangelism, church growth, you name it. But it really all boils down to that statement. He brought him to Jesus. Wow. If this week we would all invite just one person who would come, that would double the size of our ministry potential in the church immediately. Just ask one. How much influence would it take for you to ask one person to come and worship with you? That's not so difficult. See, only God knows who's going to fill an empty seat next Sunday here. And we have no idea what God may use that person for in this church or in this community. Right now, they're just a Simon who nobody has taken the time to tell about Jesus. But look out. That person could become Peter, the rock of the church. And there's no reason why you can't invite that special someone to your church next Sunday. Don't let next Sunday just be another Sunday. You can become a connector for Jesus this week if you just be willing to ask the Lord to guide you, and then be willing to listen. Many times we ask the Lord for something and we don't listen to the answer. Sometimes we do hear the answer and say, well, I don't really think he's talking to me. Must be for another time. No? Who did you ask? Did you ask God? God will answer. If you really need it, God will answer. Wow. Go tell. Go ask. This week. You can do it in the grocery stores, the Walmarts, the Lowe's. I think I've invited almost everyone at Lowe's. They pretty much all know me as becomes the preacher. But I can't get them past that stage. And there's some who, when they see me coming, go the other way. That's all right. I'm going to keep going. And as much as I stand at Walmart, they better listen to me sometime. I've asked a couple of my friends down there, I said, you know, we can rope off a whole section in our sanctuary just for Walmart employees. I think I need to find the manager and talk to him. Is there somebody you could ask this week? Go meet Sally at Goodwill and ask the cashier there. There's 2 or 3 of them. It's up to you. Father, we just come before your throne of grace, mercy, and love. Thank you for your word. Thank you for the example of how Andrew became the connector for Peter when he introduced Peter to you. Lord, help us this week. I ask, Father, that you will remind every one of us and give us an opportunity just to ask someone if they would come to be their friend at church. Lord, we know that you have a plan for this church. And I pray, Father, that we would all get in on what you're up to. This church would grow. We would be known for people who are willing to ask others to come worship with us. I ask for your anointing on every one of us as we leave this church today. For it's in Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen. Brother, what do you think?
Whiter than snow, hymn number 325.
Hymn number 325. Would you stand with me?
Anyway.